Hey guys, it's Brad with College SportsCast. We are here to do episode 9 of our Big Blue Hoops cast, and we got a special guest for you tonight. Hey guys, welcome back. It's Brad with College SportsCast. I've got John Hammonds on here with me. What's up, Hammonds?
I'm doing good. I was just trying to share the odds for you.
All right, so before we get started, I got to say it's an honor to have Corey Price on with us tonight. What's up, Corey? How are you tonight?
I'm doing good, Brad and John. You all have done great work with this podcast so far, and hope you all can keep it going for a while.
Well, I appreciate you being here, man. Corey, if you don't know, works for UK Sports Network, JMI, doing some football stats. And then he also does some stuff for Kentucky as well, and puts out a bunch of stats all the time. And he's always in the know of what happened in whatever 70s or 80s or 2000s or whatever. So if you don't know Corey Price, check him out, because if you're a Kentucky fan, he puts out some really cool info.
Yeah, he's a genius when it comes to a statistician. I like there was one, I think it was back during football season, that was from the early 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even know that. Like my dad probably did, but I didn't know that stuff. Like it'll blow your mind with some of the stuff that he comes up with when it comes to stats. Like it's amazing.
All right, so before we get started, real quick, I just want to say, if you're on Facebook with us, we appreciate you. We have been growing tremendously, and we appreciate that. You can help support us by sending stars or subscribe to our page. You do get a subscribers only page and a chat. It's only 99 cents a month. It does help us earn a little money to continue to keep making content for you guys. All right. Corey, I actually met you in person yesterday for the first time. I mean, we've kind of crossed paths on Facebook and X and everything else, but as far as in person, I met you at the conclusion of the game yesterday with the women's team, and we had a little chat. And I just wanted to ask you, was that your first time this season being at one of the women's games?
It was actually my second time. I was lucky enough to go to the game against Louisville. Although, if you recall, we had a football home game that day as well. So, unfortunately, I didn't get to that game until towards the end of the third quarter. But yeah, this is my second game. It was a blast. This team is a lot of fun to watch, for sure.
They are. So we'll get started with, today the new polls come out for the week. I think, guys, Hammonds, I think this is week 13. Is that right for college basketball already?
I think. Now, don't.
I think that's what the AP poll says was week 13, which is crazy to me. But anyways, the new poll come out.
Week 13.
And the Kentucky women's team is ranked 12th. Guys, they're 17-2 overall, and they are 6-1 in a pretty stacked SEC.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Corey.
Oh, they had a pretty poor performance in their game prior to Sunday, last Thursday. So I'm kind of happy they only dropped one spot. I could have seen them dropping more based on their loss against Texas A&M. Yeah. But
I'll be honest, Corey, I think it helped them that several of the teams around them in the 8, 9, 10, because they were 11, even like 12, 13, and 14, several of the teams around them lost. So I think that helped.
Yeah, for
for
sure.
them not to drop.
I think that also helped on the men's side too. There was a few teams that dropped early in the week,
Yeah.
and there was some above and below them, like A&M that lost, and that's why I don't think Kentucky dropped as far as they did. I know they're at 12 in the men's side. We will talk about that soon, but I figured the AP would drop them to at least 15 or 16 because
Yeah,
how the
I
AP
did too on that side.
it'd be a big
Here,
drop.
I mean, guys, they're 6-1, and the SEC. If you look at the standings in the SEC, they're second, tied with Texas and LSU. I mean,
Yeah, just believe me, I'm very excited for the team. They're playing great. I guess kind of a caveat: the front half of the schedule has not been the toughest of competition. In fact, Bama this coming Thursday will be their first ranked opponent to play in the SEC. Fortunately, the back half is loaded. I think they
it
face
is.
6 or 7 ranked teams in the
Yeah,
last half. So
yeah,
it's awesome that they're 6-1. It's great, like I said, but they will definitely get tested here soon, no
yeah,
doubt.
absolutely. I agree with you 100%. All right, so we are going to get started here. I am going to talk a little bit about the road loss at Texas A&M. You know, they were ahead at halftime, 30-25. They've led every game in the SEC at halftime. You know, they took a 10-point lead in the third quarter, and it looked like they were going to be able to maybe close this game out, stay undefeated in the SEC. But they had a really rough night shooting.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest reason that the poor shooting effort, which is not like this team. Um, but I saw Texas A&M. I think in 3 or 4 of their conference games were trailing in the fourth quarter and won. So I guess we're not the only team that had that problem against the Aggies.
Right. Yeah. I mean, John, for you, I mean, this team, like 7 or 8 straight games, had shot 47% or better. And then
Yeah,
they go to Texas. They struggled. I think it was 31% and
yeah.
decimal point,
Um,
I think.
it was a tough night, especially for Georgia Amore. She transferred in from Virginia Tech. As most know, she's probably one of the best guards in the country. I think she scored 15 points on the night, but she was 0 from 8 from the three. And I think she was 5 of 18 from the field, Brad, I believe.
Yeah. She
So
struggled for sure. And one
yeah,
thing
just
that
a
I'll
tough
say
night.
about it is when you're 0 for, let's call it 0 for 4, 0 for 5, she's one of the best point guards in the country. Maybe she should have tried to find some teammates a little bit more than trying to put up, 6, 7, and 8, whenever she's missing, to be honest with you. At
Wanted to,
least that night.
wanted to add to it, they had some really good guards in Sol Williams and Erica Moon. They hit some shots to put them in the lead. A&M. This A&M team ain't great, but on this night they was good. And we
They're
were
actually not terrible at home. If
no.
you look at their home, what they're doing at home, they're not terrible. They beat Ole Miss at home as well.
Yeah,
Like you said,
and
though, Corey, it's
Yeah.
just a bad shooting night, and they in Kentucky couldn't hit, and A&M hit shots when they needed to, and basically that was the game. Just never could recover from it.
I think we only made 1 of 18 threes. So
We
honestly,
did.
it's kind of a miracle they only lost by 6. Honestly,
But it's just, if you watch the game, we went up 10 points about midway through the third quarter, and you're thinking, okay, we're fixing to play like we normally do, fixing to kind of cruise. And then they just chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. And by the mid part of the fourth quarter, it was tied. They took a 1-point lead. And to be honest with you, we're going to talk about this on the men's side as well. But down the stretch, they just couldn't hit nothing and just couldn't score.
Well, and another key stat in this game too was A&M had 32 defensive rebounds that they got on the boards, and I think that had a lot to do with it as well. But like y'all said, just one of those nights, which they did come back and take care of Arkansas Sunday, and now they face their loaded stretch of basketball, where we'll find out where the girls are at. To be honest.
Speaking of that, we'll go on and go into the bounce back game. This was yesterday. And, Corey, it started out about as well as you could possibly expect. I mean, they jumped out 29-10 in the first quarter and looked fantastic in the opening quarter. What did you think about it? You were there.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like the team that we've known the entire season minus the game this past Thursday. Shooting a lot of threes. They made a lot of threes. They made 13 threes. Georgia was back to being Georgia. She had 8 assists, scored 19 points. It was the team that we should see.
Yeah, I mean, they jumped out ahead, John, and then, the second quarter, they kind of hung with us. They actually outscored us 18-15 in the second quarter. We took, I think, a 16-point lead to halftime. And then the third quarter comes out, John, and they do kind of the same thing. They scored 33 points in the third quarter.
Yeah, and a lot of that had to do with Izzy Higginbottom, Arkansas. She's one of the best players in the SEC. I mean, she's not on a great team, but she makes up for it with her points and her distributions. She's a really good basketball player. Mike Neighbors has not had what is it, Brad? The last couple of years, he's just not had great years.
Well, to be honest with you, to be fair, he had 2 or 3 players transfer out this year.
He did
that he wasn't expecting to hit the transfer portal, and they transferred out on him. So,
yeah, it's been kind of tough on him, but I felt like the girls kind of had their little bounce back game, and they figured out how to play again without making mistakes, hitting their shots, because this was an anomaly, I think. In the A&M game, I just think there was certain things in that game that was weird in that whole second half that just normally don't happen for our girls. And I think you'll see that as the season goes.
I got a couple of clips here. So early in that third quarter, right after halftime, Clara Strack went on kind of a run, scored like 7 straight points, including hitting a three-pointer. She's the 6'5" center, by the way, and when she's on, she's pretty special.
Be patient and take care of the basketball. That's the most important thing they've got to do in this third quarter. Strack for 3. Rainbowed it.
That's a pretty shot, guys.
Yeah, I think Key hit a couple of threes as well. So, I mean, if you are
6'4", 6'5",
yeah.
Yep.
So if you're a women's team and you got your big shooting threes, that's pretty hard to defend.
Yep, I agree with you. At the end, I talked about the third quarter. The end of the third quarter, Arkansas went to the free throw line, and there was 3.2 seconds on the clock. And we got the rebound. They missed. We got the rebound. Key got it, dished it out to Georgia, and it looked like Georgia was going to just pop a just past half-court shot. And instead of doing that, she drops it off to Deja, and Deja drains a three-pointer at the buzzer at the end of the third quarter. I got to show this.
Key with the rebound, has Amor, 3 seconds. Amor, right side, Lawrence, a 3 at the buzzer. Yes! How about Deja Lawrence, the assist by Amor?
There's Darren Hedrick on the call there, guys. It was a fantastic play. I mean, to get that out that fast off the rebound in like 3.1, 3.2 seconds, that's pretty good. Not a lot of guys' teams can do that.
Georgia Moore, I've said it all year. She's quick with the ball in her hands. She can get it to her teammates. Even her scoring, she can do it all. With the shooting and making her teammates feel like that she's giving them an opportunity to win. She's a really great player and just a fun player that's probably going to have a real good career in the WNBA wherever she locks down at. I think she's got a big career ahead of her, Georgia.
Oh, I'm almost positive she's got a WNBA career ahead of her. But Corey, I want to ask you and talk a little bit about Tiani Key. I mean, even though we talked about them struggling in the Texas A&M game, she had 20 points and 9 rebounds in that game. She was the lone bright spot, really, and shot well. She was about the only one that shot well. She had 20 points and 9 rebounds. Then yesterday she comes back with her 7th double-double, I believe that's right. And, 13 points, 11 rebounds yesterday. And I've got a clip here before you talk. This is something special that Tiani Key can do from inline to inline, coast to coast, 6'4", and can play center. And this is what she can do.
The on-ball screen offense.
Parker back on the floor after leaving briefly with an injury. Here's Key. Key is not afraid to put the ball on the deck and push it and take it to the hole. Tiani Key for 2 more.
Do you see that Euro step she did?
I'm telling y'all, she's 6'4". She's a post player, and she went from inline to inline. Corey, how special is it to see a girl that's that tall, that big, move like that on the floor with the ball?
Our team's lucky. I mean, I think we have 2 players like that in Strack. Her and Strack. I think they both had a double-double yesterday, I believe.
They did.
I think they both had 4 blocks each. I think we lead the country in blocks. I think they combined averaged over like 5 blocks a game. They are such a presence down low, both on offense and defense. We're so lucky to have them both. Tiani, I think, was a former McDonald's All-American, so she's been good since high school.
She was. She got hurt as a freshman right before her freshman year at North Carolina. She blew out her knee, and it took her a little time. I mean, 2 years she kind of struggled there. She comes to Kentucky, and I don't know, something about Kenny Brooks and his system and Kentucky, she seems to really be flourishing.
I think a lot of it too, Brad, is the way Kenny Brooks plays his offense. He plays the inside-out stuff, the transition. Then you got, Clara Strack and Tiani Key, going down the lane, going up court with their size. That's not to say, you look at Georgia, Amore, some of the others, Hassett. Then you got Deja Lawrence, and we still haven't talked about the girl that is not even. I'm not even sure she's going to play. Is Obi? I don't think if she's going to play, and she'd be another key piece in this.
She could be, but I kind of got a feeling that he's going to save her for next year and not burn a whole year. He had
got an update on her the other day that they was trying to progress, but I'm not so sure that she's probably not going to be back till next year, which might be a good thing because Clara Strack probably comes back next year. A few of the girl Hassett be back. This will be a really good team next year. Plus they got an All-American. Plus they got an All-American girl today in Carroll. She got added to the All-American team. So
yeah.
He's got a good team coming in next year as well.
For sure. All right, guys, we are going to move on to the week ahead and kind of an outlook here. Just talk about the two games that they have this week. John, they have two. Corey, first I'll say this. You talked about the schedule, getting harder. This is part of that, right? It starts right now. They have two ranked games this week. The first one is Thursday night at home against Alabama. And then the second one is the 13th ranked team in the country on the road on Sunday, and that's Oklahoma Sooners. So they get two ranked opponents this week. And what do you think, John? What do you think of the outlook of this team for this week is going to be?
I think it'll be a split. I think they win at home against Alabama. I think they lose on the road to Oklahoma. Oklahoma's having a really good year. Reagan Beers is having a fantastic season for Oklahoma. I think she's a really big piece in the middle for them. Oklahoma's not had the type of season that we all thought they would either. They've hit some.
They've had a few losses.
They've had a few leaks. Alabama has. Alabama just lost to Vanderbilt, a team that you have been talking about the last couple of weeks. Played really, really well with Michaela Blakes. She's a really good guard for them. Actually, they got
Barker came back too and had over 30.
Yeah. So either way, these are going to be two tough games to maneuver. I've said it, not even on the women's side, men's side too. SEC's a gauntlet, man. You're going to have to bring your game every single night because as far as being a away team, it's tough, but being a home team is going to be even tougher because you're having to defend your home court. And we've seen even in men's play that your home court don't necessarily mean you're going to win a game. And I think this week we'll find out where the girls stand at and where they belong when it comes to upper echelon of the SEC.
I think that's a true statement. Corey, the home crowd on Thursday night, do you think that's going to play a factor?
No doubt. It's our first ranked matchup in Lexington in 3 years. It's the first time we played a ranked Bama squad in 26 years, so it's a lot of history there. And like I said, it's the start of a vicious gauntlet. I think 6 or 7 of the last 9 games are against ranked teams. It's just brutal. I think without question, their 2 worst games so far this year have been on the road. So that Oklahoma game is, it's going to be tough. But like John says, I think they'll definitely win at home and probably lose on the road against the Sooners.
Did you see what he did just then, Brad?
You guys are wrong, of course. I mean,
he dropped in some stats. Did you see what he did? He dropped in some stats right there.
I did hear you. He did drop in some stats there, that I was not aware of. So I appreciate that, Corey. But I didn't realize it was the first home ranked team that we played, in 3 years. That's a long time.
No, it's the first home game where both teams are ranked.
Both teams are ranked.
Yeah, in 3 years. Yeah,
that's a big stat right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that would have been the Ryan Howard team, right? 22?
Yep. They played Georgia, and we beat them. So
yeah,
it was good.
Okay. Well, Memorial is looking great. It's had the whole makeover. Before we move on, what do you think about what Memorial looks like?
It's night and day from when I was there as a student. The ceiling's all blue, which looks pretty cool. I like they've added that club level. That's nice. They've added like a special section for students in one of the ends. It just looks great, honestly.
Hey Corey, you want to know a quick stat on my end here?
Sure.
You want to know how old I am? I'm old enough to remember when I went to Memorial Gymnasium. I would go up to Lexington sometimes, and sometimes they'd leave the door open, right?
Mm-hmm.
For practice, and you'd go in and see Jamal Mashburn, and Rodney Dent and some of those guys, and they'd be practicing ball. And Rick Pitino would be down on the floor coaching them up.
Well,
and
I'm old enough.
Well, I mean,
old enough.
You're probably old enough to remember Rex Chapman and such, but
wait a second. I'm old enough to remember when Big Blue Madness was really Midnight Madness, and they held it at midnight at Memorial Coliseum.
That's right.
Yeah, you're old, man. You're old.
Just a little bit older than y'all guys. So
just a tad.
All right, Corey. They do have 9 games. They have 9 games remaining. 6 of the 9 are against ranked teams, including LSU, Texas at home, a road game to end the year at South Carolina. Everybody knows how tough that game will be if you're a basketball fan. So just, what is your outlook for March, basically, for this girls' team, for the women's team?
Like I said, this final stretch is pretty tough. Honestly, if they have a winning record, if they go at least 5-4 in these last 9, I think that's a victory. Because, like I said, in fact, their last 3 games, I think, are LSU, Tennessee, South Carolina. And that's about as hard as the final three games as you're going to have.
Yeah.
So I feel like if they can win at least 5 of his next 9, I mean, they're probably looking at, I would say, probably a 3 or 4 seed, I would say.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I've got them hanging on to a 3 or 4 seed, more than likely, is kind of way I see it. Like you said, they finished the year, Tennessee, LSU, South Carolina. I mean, you can't get more tough than that. I mean, not really. I mean, and in between, they got these 2 games that we talked about. They got to play Texas at home. I mean, it's just an all-around tough schedule. They play on the road at Ole Miss, who's not going to be an easy game as well. So if they can go 5-4,
Ole Miss has got a really good guard in Madison Scott too.
Oh yeah,
she's really, really good for the Rebels.
Oh yeah. I mean, they've got a really good team, and play them. Actually, they play them on the road after the Oklahoma game.
Actually, if I don't know if many people watch women's ball, but I do every Sunday usually. I usually take time to sit down and watch. They almost beat Texas Sunday.
They did. They really should have beat Texas.
Really should have beat them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Tough.
Speaking of women's, before we move off of the women's, I've got to give, and I know this is the Big Blue HoopsCast, but I got to give a shout out to Kim Caldwell, who is the new coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. She had a baby 6 days ago, guys, and she is on the sideline right now coaching against South Carolina.
That's amazing.
The game is being played right now. 6 days ago, she had a baby.
It's crazy.
I got to ask you guys, do you think any of these men coaches, if they'd done something like that, do you think they'd be on the sideline 6 days later?
No. Maybe
we'd be in the bed asking for a pacifier. That's just that's how.
I say maybe 6 weeks later, but not 6 days later. No.
Yeah, 6 weeks later is a different thing, but 6 days later is crazy.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And she is on the sideline. Before we leave the show, John, I want you to look up the score because they're playing. Tennessee and South Carolina's playing tonight. It's an ESPN game on Monday night, and just check it out before we leave the show. I just want to throw that out there, and got to give a huge shout out. I mean, to have a baby, and then 6 days later be on the sideline coaching.
Right now, it's
wow.
Tennessee leads them 16-15 at the 8-minute mark in the second quarter.
Okay.
So it's a low-scoring game. Tennessee's got a good defense.
They do.
South
All
Carolina
right.
does too.
I just had to throw it out there. I'm kind of a women's basketball junkie now, so I pay attention to it all, and it's a big game going on tonight. So now we are going to move on to the men's. We're at the halfway point of the show here. We're going to move on to the Kentucky men's basketball. And guys, they're kind of going through a rough stretch here.
Yeah, I mean, you lose to Alabama in a game that there's a couple plays here or there you probably need to make, and they win that game. Vanderbilt, same way. The biggest thing that I have a concern with, Corey and Brad,
Josh, I'm not too sure on that,
is the scoring droughts. The 7 minutes there where we didn't, Lamont Butler turns it over. He had 6 turnovers. They failed to score in the final 2.5 minutes. Granted, you're playing without Andrew Carr, one of your top guys. They were shorthanded without him. And at times, without Andrew Carr, because I feel like he's the best big man they got. And when he's in the game, it changes the whole complexion of the way they run their offense. And without him in there, it just looks like a completely different team. And I don't know, I'll go to Corey. I just felt like, the going down the stretch, you have a 7-point lead with 7 minutes to go. And you had Vanderbilt reeling, and they hit the 3 there to cut it to 4. I felt like if they don't hit that 3, I think Kentucky goes down and they kind of put the game away, but they let Vandy hang around too long, and that's a mistake, especially in Nashville.
Yeah, we turned the ball over 17 times, which is not like us. It was pretty clear Butler was probably playing hurt. Didn't handle the ball very well. I remember one play.
Something was wrong.
Yeah, there's one play where he tried to force feed it to Amari to the top of the key. It was almost stolen, but they got it back. And then the very next pass, he tries to get it back
the exact same thing. Yeah,
to Amari. Yeah, it was just not good. And then he was going up to the top of the key, and the ball got stolen, which is rare for him. Something wasn't right with Butler. Obviously, like I said, John, not even Carr was huge. Trent had some decent minutes. He played hard, which is I think we need to see from guys off the bench. But you shouldn't lose a 7-point lead like that. No.
So, Corey, here's what I want to ask you about, and this is what I'm worried about when I watch this, specifically the Vanderbilt game. Okay, the Vanderbilt game, the last 7-8 minutes of the first half, we got outscored 20-4.
Yep.
If you go back and rewatch the last 7 minutes of the second half, at the 7-minute mark, we had a 60-57 lead.
Yep.
So that means we got heavily outscored 17-8 or something like that at the end of the second half as well.
Yeah, the first 11.5 minutes of the second half, we outscored them by 21. So the other 28.5 minutes of the game, we were outscored by 26. So, it pretty shows we played about 10 minutes of really good basketball and about 30 minutes of pretty bad basketball. This team is not built to win scoring less than 70 points. It's just not. That's not.
Nope.
That's not who they are.
Yeah, it's not.
Me and John actually talked about that today away from the show. Just in conversation.
That's another thing I kind of wanted to bring up here, Brett, is, they had that little stretch run there early in the season where they done really, really good things offensively. I think, and Corey can kind of chime in on it, I think a lot of teams are figuring them out offensively. And I think once a team figures you out, you got to change certain things that you do. Like tomorrow night, for instance, they're going on the road to Tennessee. Tennessee's going to try to push them off the three-point line. They're going to try to suffocate them to where they can't get any shots off. Well, when you're in that situation, you got to keep the ball moving, is what I'm saying. You got to keep it moving. You got to figure out a way to get a guy open.
You got to make some adjustments. You got to go back door. You got to, you know what I mean? You got to make some adjustments.
Yeah. And like Kobe Bryant, for instance, there's times where he gets lost on the defensive end. And he doesn't even look for a shot. There's times where he just dribbles into the free throw line. Did you notice that Saturday? There was a couple of times, Corey, where he dribbled into the free throw line. He didn't know, and he was trying to throw it back out, and then he just threw up a shot, and it was a horrible shot. I'm like, just go back out and figure out the offense instead of trying to make a play and trying to hurt the team. And I think Kobe's going through a stretch now too. So is Lamont Butler, where this team's beat up. Let's just put it what it is. They're beat up right now. Butler's probably nursing a shoulder injury. Carr's got a back injury. Kirk Krissa is I'm not even sure if he's coming back. From the way I hear and talk, me and Brad's been listening to that. It don't sound promising that he'll be back. So what do? You gotta change something.
First of all, you got to dig deep within yourself as a team. I mean, first of all, you got to dig deep. I mean, especially when you are battling some injuries and trying to come through the other side of that. I mean, I heard Pope say, talking about Carr specifically, and Corey, I want to ask you this because I heard Pope say in the post-game press conference after Vandy that he decided to give him some rest because he hasn't practiced at all for like 2 or 3 weeks. And he said that whenever he was letting him play in the games, it was almost like they were back to square one in the rehab process. And he was, hurting again and couldn't practice. And so he decided to give him a rest in the game and he might be out for a few games, to be quite honest with you. But my question is this. If Carr is willing to do that and to play through it in the games, isn't that part of, toughness and trying to figure it out? Isn't that part of it, though?
That's a part of it. You do have to worry about the future of the player. I mean, it'd be pretty selfish of Mark to only worry about what Andrew's doing this season. I'm sure Carr has aspirations of playing pro, either NBA or overseas. So, it's a fine line between, obviously you want this team to win now, of course, that there's no debate there, but you also have to think about his future. So, obviously, like I said, they tried to have Carr play. It didn't. His back kept hurting. So I think they're doing the cautious thing now, and hopefully.
And he didn't. To be fair, he did not look good against Grant Nelson.
Well, I will say,
right. Yeah.
Brad, when he, I don't know if anybody on here has had back injuries, but back injuries are hard to recover from. You just can't swing them out there and expect them to just be 100%. It can knock him back down another peg, and then he won't be. Then he could be out for the rest of the year. We're talking a fine line with back injuries here, because they're not easy to just play through. To go through and I mean, that's you can true. Ice it up. You can.
I mean, that's true, 100%.
You can do whatever you want to do, but when it comes down to it, if he's not healthy to play, I mean, we're just going to have to wait it out, and hopefully he comes back maybe towards the end of the year tournament, and you're going to have to play without him. You're going to have to do things without him. You're going to have to make like even tomorrow night. They're going to have to rebound the ball. I think Kentucky's 8th in the country at boards a game at 40.8, I believe, in it, Corey. That's an amazing stat.
Yep.
That's an amazing stat considering how well we don't rebound. to be honest. But Tennessee's really good at rebounding. They can get after the boards. So you're going to have to do this without Carr, and you're just going to have to play through it. And hopefully somebody's going to step up and take that role. And if you saw it Saturday, I think Ainsley Almanor, I feel like needs to be that guy, because me and Brad was talking about it earlier. He's been a really big piece to this Pope offense this year when we've needed a big shot.
I agree with you, but before I move on to that, because that's one of my next segments, I wanted to ask Corey specifically a question about this, and I think this kind of relates to our struggles. So, and John and I were talking about this earlier today. I feel like this team lets the other teams dictate how we play, how the game is going to go. So a team like Florida comes in and they want to be fast-paced and run and gun, and we can score 100 points. A team like Alabama comes in and they want to be fast-paced and run and gun, and we can score nearly 100 points. You get a team like, Vandy or Georgia, or that wants to, play rough and tough, and they are dictating how, not only they're dictating how the game goes, how the flow is, how it's played, everything. Do you think this team is doing that? They can't dictate a game?
I think you may have a point there. I know a lot of the offense is based on cuts and a lot of action and moving around. And if we're playing a great defense, they're obviously going to take that away, especially early in the shot clock. And I would guess if they take it away in the shot clock early, they get kind of bogged down, and they kind of may not know what to do in the latter half of the shot clock if the first actions aren't working or aren't going well. I think a lot of times they go to like one-on-one ball, not actual team ball, in the last half of the shot clock. If that's not working, and it shows it's not working. So obviously it's based on the defense and what they do. Obviously, if we can get out in transition, that's where we thrive. If we can't get a good cut, a good pass within the first 5 to 10 seconds, it definitely shows that we're not really great on offense after that. Normally,
we're not, and that's where, like, it's kind of. I really have been. It's so frustrating to me to watch some of these games, because I feel like, however the other team wants to either play fast or muck it up, that's exactly how the game's going to go, because this team cannot figure out how
to be fair, Brad. To be fair, I know me and you have our little fusses on the big fuss, no pun intended, but when you're playing a team that is playing defense like a Tennessee or a Georgia, it's hard to get open. You can't get open. You're basically forcing shots.
You've got to create some pace off of turnovers. When you do that, you've got to create some turnovers. You got.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
there are things you can do.
I'm just saying when you're being suffocated, there's nothing much you can do.
Ohio State did do that, Jamie. You are absolutely 100% right. That was another game that we struggled with. So for the other team.
I think there's other things you can do, Corey. I just think when you're playing a team like we'll play tomorrow night in Tennessee, you're going to have to hit the shots when they're there. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. When you get open, shoot it.
I think Kerr is trying to do that, Clyde. I'm not sure if the NCAA is going to let him do a medical.
Is that you, John Calipari? Is that his burner? He said robots in there, so I didn't know. Oh me.
All right, I'm going to move on. I want to talk about a couple of guys who I think is playing well. Of course, Otiga Owe is playing well. But John mentioned him a few minutes ago. I really like the way Ansley Almanar is playing. Actually, if Carr is going to be out, I actually think he should start. What do you think, Corey?
He should. I think he started on Saturday, correct? I believe.
Yeah.
He's usually a great spark off the bench. Obviously, he started this past one, but I think he made four threes. But usually, like I said, he's a spark off the bench, hitting a couple of threes here and there. His defense leaves some work to be desired. But if he can hit 2 to 4 threes a game, it's
But he
worth
can knock it down.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, at times we've struggled with knocking it down. And Almanar seems like he can always find, like you said, 2, 3, 4 a game.
I'm gonna throw one at you. It's amazing to me with how Amari Williams plays, the way he rebounds. There's sometimes where he just don't go after anything. Like he just stands there, and it boggles me at his size that he can't rebound better than what he does. But yet you get a kid like Trent Noah comes in the game on Saturday, and he gets a key offensive rebound to keep the game in the balance.
I mean, he just hustles. That's all you can. That's all you can.
Right.
Say
It shows you that this kid needs a little bit more playing time. I'm not saying
wants to be out there.
I'm not saying 35 minutes a game. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes at a time to give him an opportunity to maybe hit a shot or, grab a key rebound. Or he absolutely hustled Saturday. I felt like him and Oway was the only two that actually cared if the other team lost or won, because they gave everything they got. And Butler, I know he's hurt, but that's just some of those turnovers were just absolutely silly. Some of the ones that he had Saturday, just throwing the ball to the other team.
I mean, honestly, there for a little while, I Butler looked like he was the inexperienced guy. To be honest with you, there for a little while, which is insane to say. But talking about guys playing well, I thought, Corey, what do you think about the way Brandon Garrison's played the last few games?
He's been okay. I don't really remember a whole lot quality play from this past Saturday. He's typically a pretty good passer at the top of the key. I honestly don't recall much of anything from this past Saturday from him. Honestly, I think Amari.
I think he had 8 points and 5 rebounds.
Oh, okay.
Only thing that concerns me with Garrison at times is sometimes he gets too loose with the basketball, and they take it right.
You know what he can do when he's out top, because Pope plays his post player out there, at past the 3-point line. You know what he can do? He can knock down a 3-pointer.
But Madeline, you bring up a good point. She says, I'm not convinced that we have what it takes to go the distance in March. I don't either, but I'm going to say this from a neutral perspective. To be where we are, to compare to what, everybody thought Pope was going to be, I'll take it every day and twice on Sundays, because a lot of people didn't even think we'd be even in this position. With top 5, top 15 wins. Many people thought we would lose to Duke. I mean,
guys, just like the women, we're ranked 12th. They failed. They went from 9th. They didn't fall far, to be honest. I thought they might fall a little farther.
Yeah, AP poll are sometimes rough on teams, to be honest. And I'm going to say this, and when you get in March, me and Brad talked about this last year. When you get in March, all it takes is to get hot, have a couple breaks go your way, and this whole thing can change. You get maybe a good draw. Now, last year I thought we had a good draw, but apparently Jack Goki thought differently. Hit shots from Cancun and just had the night of his life, and that happens in the tournament. You're going to have a night where a guy like that, a senior, comes off the bench and just goes crazy. And unfortunately, it happened too many times under Calipari, and that's why a lot of the Kentucky fans was kind of frustrated with it. So, new opportunity with Pope. So to be in our position, like I said, Madeline, I'll take it twice on Sundays because not many people had us in this position. A lot of people had us outside the top 25. Pretty much everybody.
Season, almost everybody did. I mean,
yeah.
To be honest with you.
So,
but okay, tomorrow night, guys, we take on Tennessee at Tennessee. Tough road. I mean, tough game. It's going to be tough no matter what season you're in. It seems like it's always a tough place to go. Tennessee's always after us. I don't care what sport it is. We could be playing tiddlywinks, and they're going to be coming after us, to be quite honest. But, so 2 straight losses. Do the Cats go on the road and bounce back tomorrow night at Tennessee? Corey, what's your thoughts?
It's gonna be tough. We have struggled this year pretty much against every team that plays physical, and Tennessee is one of the more physical teams in the conference, if not the entire country. Although the last few years we won a bunch down Knoxville, and sometimes with teams that were not that great. So, if the last 5 seasons tell us anything, they've got a pretty good shot, but they've got to find a way to crash the glass. We can't.
They've got to dictate some pace in this game. They cannot let Tennessee hold us to 58 points tomorrow night.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, our only chance to win is scoring. At least 70 and possibly probably even 80.
And two, to add to your point, Corey, Tennessee is 335 tempo out of 364 teams.
Yeah,
that's as slow as you can get to high major.
And that's exactly how they're going to play us tomorrow night. Just like Auburn, 53-51, but Auburn figured out a way to win somehow, scoring that. But I will almost guarantee y'all that if we score 53 or 51 points tomorrow night, we're not winning.
No. And Tennessee's got the number 1 defense in Ken Palm. I think they're allowing only 58 points per game. They're going to, like I said, Brad, they're going to muck things up, especially tough. And there's been a lot of criticism. I wrote an article about it tomorrow. It comes out tomorrow morning for those that want to read it. It's a preview of Tennessee. I was talking about the toughness. There's going to have to be some fight with this team. You just got to go out and be tough. Ansley Almanor said it basically simply. No schemes, no gimmicks, just go out there and be tough. It's that simple. And that's what they got to do. And Kentucky's been good in this spot too, Corey. They've responded after certain losses, and I think this trend favors Kentucky a little bit. They're 3-0 under Pope as underdogs. They've also won back-to-back games in Knoxville as 8-point underdogs.
They seem to play better when the lights are on the brightest.
They've won their last 3 games on the road despite coming off consecutive losses. No team, to me, has better resumes than Kentucky and Tennessee. This is a big game for seeding-wise, especially for the SEC tournament as well. So I look for, like I said with you all, I look for a game to be mucked up, a game to be one of those that just will drive your hands.
And I know they probably won't do it because, like you guys said, they're kind of banged up. I'd like to see them go to a press a couple of times and throw them off. I'm not saying you run it all night long. I'm not saying that. I know they won't do that. But
Kentucky's got some players to do that with.
Why not? To dictate tempo and to keep it from being a 58 to 56 game, why not 2-3 minutes at a time a couple of times each half. Surprise them with a press. Create some turnovers. Get some fast break points. Something I'd like to see.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good on paper, but with the amount of bodies we have, I just don't. I mean, even if it's just for a small stretch, I still don't think it's a good idea. Although, I think it was Gonzaga. We played 1-3-1 for a little bit, and that kind of confused them. So maybe some possessions play like a 1-3-1, maybe.
I'll say this:
a 1-3-1 trap, something. Yeah.
I'll say this too, Brad, and Corey, that kind of has Kentucky an edge going into this game. Tennessee's not a great shooting team. 3-point. I mean, they got Chaz Lanier, Zakai Ziegler. I think those two are the main guys. And you got Milicic, which he's on or off at times. If Kentucky could hit some shots, Corey, and Tennessee's not shooting the wet ball well, I think Kentucky has an opportunity here.
All right. Before we have to wrap up the show, I gotta ask Corey. Arkansas comes to town on Saturday.
Yeah.
I can't let Corey get out of here.
I knew you was coming. I knew you was coming with this, Brad.
I can't let him get out of here without at least asking. All right, Arkansas comes to town, and everybody's talking about Calipari coming back to Lexington, coming back to Rupp. But Corey, I got to ask you. I mean, Adu Thiero's coming back to Rupp. Big Z's coming back to Rupp. DJ Wagner's coming back to Rupp. We got two players that thought they were going to be here, and Billy Richmond.
Tyler Eulis on the staff coming back.
Tyler Eulis is on the staff coming back.
Kenny Payne. He's another one. That was on the
staff. Corey, I got to ask you, what all will this game mean for everybody involved? Because it's going to mean something to Adu Thiero as well.
Yeah, the atmosphere and environment will rival Rick's first game back with Louisville back in 2001-2002 season. It's going to be hectic. I might be in the minority here, but I hope at least at the start of the game our fans treat Cal well. Obviously, the last few seasons did not go as we planned. It wasn't our standard. But you also can't forget the first 10 seasons he was here, all the Final Fours and Elite Eights. It was a great time. Like I said, it didn't end like we wanted to. So I'm hoping they treat him with some respect at the start. During the game or towards the end. If you want to boo or whatever, that's fine. But this is by far.
It might get ugly if they were to beat us.
Yeah,
crazy.
That's where I'm with this.
At the end of it,
there's some personal matters behind it that I'm mad at Cal, but when it comes down to it, I think there needs to be respect there, Corey, because he did do a lot for Kentucky. Now I know some people's got personal feelings because he didn't do what they wanted him to do the last 3 or 4 years.
Everybody, all anybody talks about or wants to talk about is Calipari's coming back to Rupp.
And I get that.
Coming back to Rupp. But, Adu, I mean, last year, if you guys think about it, Big Z pretty much had a love affair with Kentucky fans. Pretty much.
I'm going to tell you about, real quick, Big Z. I don't think he fits that offense down there in Arkansas. They got him playing out of position. I think he would be a really good player.
You booing from your house, Clyde?
That's about the only place he'll be booing from.
My bad. He's probably going to be at KSR Bar.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, he might be there.
I don't think he should be, Brad. I just don't, because he done a lot for this. But you're going to have a lot of rednecks in the crowd and people that don't have smart ball IQ that's just going to cause a ruckus.
All I know is at the end of the day on Saturday, I hope we win. That's all I can tell you. We need to win this game.
Because I'll tell you this much.
We can't let them get out of there with a win.
If they win this game, they will boast for a year. You
No.
watch.
A year, more like
No
20
doubt.
years. Yeah, more like 20 years. We'll still be hearing it.
Yeah.
I'm serious. All right. Now, there are 12 games left in the SEC, guys. This team is sitting at 14-5. And while Corey's here, we talked about, the outlook for the women's team and that they got a tough stretch and that they might be 5-4. If they could, they might be a 3 or a 4 seed. Kentucky men has a tough stretch here too, and they got 12 games left. The SEC is an absolute gauntlet, to be honest with you. Corey, for Kentucky to be a top 4 seed, don't they at least have to be like, say, 22-9?
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably gonna go the same thing I did with women. If they can get a winning record, if they can go 7-5 with the quality teams left on their schedule, I think they're a lock for a top 4 seed. Now, going 7-5 is a lot easier said than done, because I mean it's possible that the men's stretch might be more brutal than the women's stretch, but they're both pretty tough. But I mean they still have Tennessee twice, Bama again, Auburn.
Yes, our ball. I told y'all.
Yeah, and even the game against Missouri at the start of the year we thought was going to be a cupcake. It's not a cupcake anymore. So they got a lot of tough games left. I think it would be pretty amazing if they go 7-5 with the last 12.
So I got to ask you though, 7-5 puts them at 21-10 on the
Right.
year. Do you think that will get them a top 4 seed?
Yes, because of their win.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
go ahead, Corey. Their wins are what's
Yeah.
They got wins over Duke, Gonzaga, Mississippi State, Florida. It's going to matter, Brad.
See, I think I'm just going to be honest with you. I think they got to be not 21-10. I think they got to be 22-9, which would put them having to go 8-4 these last.
As of
12
today,
games.
I read a bracket. Joe Lenardi wrote this today. Kentucky has the number 2 resume in college basketball. That's going to be hard to knock them out of that top 4 seed.
Right.
Unless they just drop 100 games.
Right.
And I don't see them doing that. But they still got a top 2 resume when it comes to wins.
And I would say Auburn probably has the best resume.
Auburn was 1, Kentucky was 2. I think Tennessee was 3. 4 was Iowa State, and I think 5 was Memphis.
Madeline asked Corey, how far do you think we'll make it in March?
Well, Madeline, I'm not a professional, but I'll try and give my opinion. It's hard to predict because I feel like this team lives and dies by the 3. I don't know if you saw this, but I tweeted we're 10-1 when we make at least 10 threes. We're 4-4 when we make 9 or less threes. So hitting that 10 number for us is crucial. And it's hard to predict how we'll shoot.
I think depending on the top 4 seed is going to play a major role in that as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the 2 out of the last 3 years have shown, even with the high seed, it doesn't guarantee anything. So we were a 2 seed and lost, and we were a 3 seed and lost. So
the tournament is weird. I just say that from matchups are everything in the tournament.
I mean, that's true, Corey, but I do believe that if we were to go 500 or something at the end of the year, and we slip to a 7 seed or something, that's going to make it awful tough to get out of the first weekend in March.
Oh yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, obviously, being a top 4 seed is where you want to be, and like I said, I mean, unless they're just a massive downfall, I think they're pretty much guaranteed a top 4 seed just based on what they've done so far, honestly.
I wished I felt that confident because right now, the way they're playing, I just don't feel that confident with it. I do with the women, but I don't with the men right now. I just don't. I'll get you out of here with this. Just a thought. Before this season started, when you were thinking about your expectations, not as a team, but for individual players, who on this team at this point, 19 games into the year, who do you think has actually played to exceed expectations on Kentucky's team?
I would say Ortega, I think by far. I think coming in the year, I thought he may be our third or fourth best player, and I think he's been honestly by far the best. He's been the most consistent by far. He scored at least 10 points in every single game. He's really the only guy that's really aggressive, getting to the rim. We're a team that unfortunately misses a ton of layups. He seems to be able to finish more often than not. He gets to the line. He's got his 3-point shot is okay. It's not great, but like I say, he's great getting to the rim. His mid range is pretty good. His defense is probably second best to a Butler. So I would say Ortega for sure.
Oh, by the way,
I agree with you 100% on that answer. I mean, I think he's by far the first one that should be thought about. But are there others on this team that has exceeded individual expectations or at least met individual expectations?
I guess Perry. I mean, I didn't think Perry would get a lot of playing time, and for most of the games, the time he's gotten, he's knocked down some threes. He's had some great passes. So probably Perry.
First of the year he looked like a high schooler. He couldn't, and now he's playing a little bit better. And I brought up a point yesterday. Today actually, with Brad. I said I don't like him up against Zakai Ziegler tomorrow night.
Yeah, that might be rough.
Yeah, his defense still has some work to do.
We're going to have to move some matchups around somewhere there. And by the way,
is there other people on this team, though, that has exceeded as a player? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't think Jackson Robinson has played up to expectations so far. I really don't think Kobe Brea has played up to expectations.
I think Butler offensive game.
Or because of injury, I don't think he has. Now, Butler, I think has probably at least played up to expectations. I'm not sure about exceeding them, but I think he's probably played up to them.
By the way, Brad, you wanted me to keep you updated on South Carolina and Tennessee. South Carolina's up 42-28, almost the end of the third quarter.
South Carolina, I'll get you out of here off this, Corey. South Carolina has 10 McDonald's All-Americans on that team.
Yeah, it's not fair. It's an embarrassment of riches down there with Don Staley.
That is sick to think about. That one team could have 10 McDonald's All-Americans on it. I don't know that I've ever heard that, men's or women's. Have you?
Pretty awesome.
No. I mean, I think
pretty awesome for them, not awesome for Milwaukee and the rest of the SEC.
I mean, I'm not even sure if our women's team has had 10 in the last 15 years. So,
exactly. I mean,
it's crazy.
UConn on the women's side, they dominated for years, but I bet you they've never had 10.
I just wanted to say something real quick before we get off. Corey, thank you for coming, man.
No problem.
It's been an awesome thing for you to get on here and talk UK. I know you love UK sports.
I do.
I know it's a fun experience to sit in between Jeff Picoro and Tom Leach. I know that's quite an experience.
Yep.
So,
And one of these days, Corey, we'll have to get you on here and talk football. I'm just going to be honest with you. About halfway through the season this year, I just was done. I was sick.
Brad was tuned out after
I was sick. I was sick to my
after
stomach.
Vanderbilt.
I can't. I am just now getting around to the point where I'm even really kind of paying attention to what the football team is doing.
Corey, don't let him lie to you. When we beat Ole Miss, he was like a kid in a candy store.
Well, listen, anybody that knows my show knows how much I care and love about Kentucky football. But I'm gonna tell you guys for real, I've been sick over I thought this team. And here's my thing: it's the culture that I'm sick about. It's really not. It's the culture that has been allowed the last 2 years for Kentucky football.
And a lot of that's moved out. So hopefully we can get Corey on.
I'm hopeful.
During football season, we can have a little chit chat before he has to wake up bright and early to greet Tom Leach and Mike Bacora.
Yeah. I'd love to have you on and talk some football sometime too.
Yeah,
I'm a big football fan, but
yeah, he's a Packers fan. What do you expect?
I know. I love me some football, so I'm ready for that chat whenever.
All right, man. So, guys, we appreciate it. This has been College SportsCast, the Big Blue HoopsCast, episode 9. Special guest Corey Price on with us, and we appreciate you, Corey. We will see you guys tomorrow night for the Big Fuss Show.
Have a good one, y'all.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Corey.